All right, I don't think I've ever formally recorded in any way the story of Prism Stones. Prism Stones. They're from a video game that Ezra and I play, and it's medieval-ish sort of thing. Knights and monsters and demons to slay, castle ruins and dark lands and that sort of thing. Dark Souls and other associated spin-offs. And I have a tendency to get lost. I wander about in the darkness, and Ezra learned at some point over the years that you could use these glowing stones as breadcrumbs. So when he realized I was going to wander off, apparently knows in advance, he just put a trail of these glowing stones out for me to follow so that I can catch up with the lads after I get done doing whatever I was doing that I wandered off. And so, Prism stones. So one time we're playing and I'm walking down this long corridor, and there's prism stones to lead me down the corridor, but the corridor just goes far, 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 far away, straight ahead in a perfectly straight line, and then it turns to the right. You run into a brick wall, and you have to turn right. You can only turn right. And there's prism stone in the corner, and then there's prism stones on down the way to the right. and I thought, surely I would have figured that out. But I said, well, thanks, buddy, for all the prism stones. But was it really necessary to run them around the corner? There's only one direction I could go. And he looked at me, with kindness, but also absolutely serious, and said, yes, it was necessary. I've seen you come to a corner where there's only one direction you can go, and you turn around and go back the way you came. Um, so it was a good call, and he knows me, and it was a true story. And I have a tendency to do that, so I felt very seen and loved and cared for about that, about the prism stones. And so I have a tendency to wander off. And one night I was camping. Sammy and I were camping up in the mountains, in Morrow Mountain State Park. Campground Loop C is my favorite. And we were the only people there. It was like the week. It was just the weekdays after Labor Day weekend or something, and we were the only people there. We had the whole mountain to ourselves, and big fire. I gathered a bunch of firewood and had a huge fire. It was chilly that evening, especially that first night. And so anyway, we're sitting by the fire, and it's a pretty big fire, and it's a circle. It's a loop. It goes in a circle. And so Sammy got antsy, and he wanted to go wander about in the woods, in the wild. It's wild, call the wild. And so I hopped up and went for a walk with Sam. Well, I didn't bring anything. I didn't bring my phone. The phone didn't work anyway. I'd forgotten about my phone, and how delightful, right? And so I didn't have a light, and I didn't have my phone. And I thought, well, we can't get lost. It's even paved. It's a paved road. It goes in a circle. And so we take off. And, of course, something caught our attention off the pavement, and we wandered off a bit into the woods. And then I decided to head back, and I realized that I didn't know which way was back. And I was lost. And I couldn't see the campfire, and I didn't have a light. And I kept thinking, I'm sure it was this way. I'm sure the road should be over here. And we'll walk a ways and we'll find the road, and that didn't happen. And so, not to worry, we're not in any danger. We're near the campground, and I'm a brother of the forest, so the forest would take good care of us. Brother Samuel at my side, not in any real danger, but troublesome. I'd like to sleep in my cushy air mattress tonight near the camp instead of out in the woods. And so we wandered a bit, and I finally decided that I knew which way to go because of the way the moonlight was sifting through the trees, because I'd been watching the moon set, I believe, over the trees by the campsite. And so in my head, I figured out which way to go back. And eventually could see the campfire, and which was not at all where I thought it would be. But we made our way back, and all is well. But it was a funny story, and I told Ezra about it when I got home from camping. Man, buddy, you won't believe it. I wandered off and got lost in the woods. And he said, "Hold on, before you say anything else." He's like, "Was it a circle?" Yeah. He's like, "And you got lost somehow anyway." Yep. And he said, I can't tell you, but I can tell, like, if you show me a map of the campground and where you were camping, I can draw a line that would show where you went, where you were lost, because I just know which way you went. He's like, I know which way you get lost. And so again, that made me feel seen and loved. Like, there's somebody that's been looking out for you for a while. They know how you get lost, and the pattern it makes. So that's delightful. And there's a brother that's looking out for you. And people do it in a lot of ways. It happens sometimes in the woods when I'm in the daylight, when I'm lost in the woods. And there'll just be like a beam of sunlight coming through the trees, and it shines on a rock over there. It tells me that's the way to go. It's prism stone. The prism stones are everywhere. It's when you know they're gonna put the spatula down when they're cooking dinner and be frustrated that they can't find it, so you keep picking it up and putting it back where you know they'll find it, and they never know that you did that, because it's just a thing you know about them that they probably don't know about themselves. It's that person at work that's looking out for you and knows you're going to forget this or that, or put that down over there, and it leaves you prism stones to help you stay on task. So people do it, and it's delightful. So someone leaves you a prism stone of any kind, there's someone that's looking out for you, somebody that's got your back, somebody that knows you and loves your quirks. And and I used to say, like in the video game, well, I get lost and I wander off, but I'm pretty good at clobbering monsters. I pack a pretty heavy punch, and I can swing a sword pretty good, and so I'm handy to have along. Even though I might wander off and get lost once in a while, I'm worth bringing along. But it really has nothing to do with that. It's just because those are people that want you on their journey. Those are people that want to make sure you don't wander too far off the same path they're on. And it doesn't matter what you're bringing along. They want you. And so when the folks are leaving you prism stones, it's not because you may or may not aid on their journey. It's because they want you on their journey, even if you can't bring much to the table. So prism stones. Watch for those prism stones. Dream about them tonight. Think about a few before you go to sleep. Some prism stones that people leave you in your world, and then dream about that, if you would, for me. So anyway, I hope that you feel safe and loved tonight, and sweet dreams.